Hi, friends.
Hi, friends. We're here.
We're back for another episode of Brunch and Judge.
Yay! What is this? 23?
23.
22?
23.
23? Okay.
23.
I need to start labeling these in my notes.
Well, I label the crap out of them except for on the ones that I print out. But because I'm
Gotcha.
always working on past episodes, I get confused as to
Which one you're
one I'm
like,
on.
wait a
What
minute,
are
what
we
are we on?
recording?
Where are we?
But
Yep.
no, today's was 22.
The one that's released today is 22.
So
okay.
we're
23.
We're 23.
23. Woo, party.
We're your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And we're ready to have some brunching and judging. I'm starting my brunching off with some magical Starbucks, by the way. In case you're wondering, because it's delicious and I love it. It is an iced toasted vanilla oat milk espresso.
That sounds yummy.
It is delicious and I love it. It brings me the most amount of joy, especially when I'm tired AF and I'm like, I need coffee.
You're like, I need caffeine ASAP. I had some goldfish crackers.
I had an almond croissant.
Oh,
from Starbucks. Yeah. Yesterday we did it right. I had to pick Spencer up from the airport really late Friday night, so we stayed in Portland overnight. Went to IHOP.
That was okay. I forgot that was like 2 days ago. Okay.
So we went to IHOP yesterday, and I was like, pancakes, hash browns, and they even gave me fruit instead of meat because I'm trying not to eat.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to cut out certain meats.
Right.
So no more of this ever and see how far I can go. So pig is first. No more pig.
Gotcha.
We'll see how it goes. Which is hard because all breakfast meats are pig based. And what the fuck is that about? And
you're like, I really do like some bacon.
So I was like, they had turkey bacon. I almost did that, but they were like, oh, we can give you fruit. And I was like, well, that's better. It's healthy.
Okay, yeah.
I'll eat that. And so when it first came to me, I was super judgy because it looked like a bowl of honeydew, which I hate, with
right, why is it always it's always
nobody
honeydew and
likes
cantaloupe,
honeydew,
and I'm just like,
okay? Nobody likes honeydew except for my mother, who's not listening. But I mean, nobody else likes it. It's not good.
In an assorted fruit tray or something, or fruit bowl. If there are a few pieces of honeydew, I'm not gonna snub my nose at that. I'll eat it along with some cantaloupe or something. But it's not my go-to fruit at all.
So
no.
it's this honeydew, and then there's 3 pieces of sad watermelon, which I'm also not a huge fan of.
Right.
And then 4 blueberries, and I'm like, whatever, I don't care. So I'm eating the blueberries, and I eat a couple pieces of watermelon, and then I discover that underneath the honeydew is pineapple, and I'm like, yes!
See, that's my jam. Pineapple is my jam. That's yes.
So it ended up being fine. It was pineapple. There are some grapes, some blueberries, a little bit of watermelon, and I ate 0 bites of honeydew because it tastes like trash. Okay, stop it. I also don't like cantaloupe that much, but I can eat it.
One of my faves.
But I do not eat honeydew because I do not like it. I can't even politely eat it. I just do not like it. I mean, I won't be oh, what the fuck are you feeding me? This is trash. But I just push it around on my plate.
Yeah, I can politely eat honeydew, but it's no.
I'm just
pineapple is the superior fruit. I'm just when it comes to just eating fruit.
I just don't understand why melons compose all of the fruit bowl components because I don't like melon that much. It's not.
No.
And I love, I eat so many fruits, guys. I'm here for the fruits, not cherries, but I'm here for the fruits. Stop it with the melon love. Ugh.
Yep. I agree. I concur with that.
But they are. But so, I did have a nice brunch yesterday, at least.
The manager I opened with at my part-time job yesterday, she got stopped at McDonald's because apparently they have brought back their bacon, egg, and cheese bagel.
And McDonald's had bagels?
Yes. Yeah. And it's back. It's a bacon, egg, and cheese bagel. So she stopped and bought us both one
Oh,
and a
that's
hash
nice.
brown, and that was nice. It was, because
Oh,
I
okay.
had that
I
yesterday.
will absolutely stab someone for McDonald's hash browns. I love those so much.
Oh yeah,
I
their
don't know.
hash browns are great. Yeah,
McDonald's does potatoes right. I don't know what they do, but like French
yeah,
fries, hash browns. Oh,
yeah. I feel like their French fries. If you get a good batch of their French fries, it's like,
they're
this is
heaven.
the superior French fry.
Yes. Mm.
It is. They really, yep. They know how to do potatoes. That's correct.
That's really why I go to McDonald's, because I mean, I
Right,
don't eat much meat. I do eat their chicken nuggets still, so but
right.
they're trash. You
They
gotta
are
I
trash.
dip them in buffalo sauce in order to enjoy them. But that's fine. It's fine. It's good.
Right. Alrighty. So, what are you judging this week?
What am I judging this week? That's an excellent question. What can I appropriately judge?
It's been a week apparently.
Well, yes.
So, what are you judging this week?
This week I am judging organized religion.
Oh, that is, that's a whole can of
I
worms.
mean, I'm not going to go super into it because let's be honest,
Right.
this show can't handle that much conversation.
We'd be here for days.
Yep, we'd never stop recording. So
Days.
I am judging a very specific thing.
Okay.
So
What are you judging?
what I'm judging is that I blame organized religion for the status quo of the world today. And I don't mean the good things. I mean all the super shitty things like
Right.
voting for Trump or
Mm-hmm.
believing things like COVID isn't real or buying into
Mm-hmm.
QAnon or any of these other things.
Right.
Because to me, and like, again, without organized religion, I wouldn't have Claire, and I would never give up Claire for anything in the world. We are ride or die besties
That's
for
right.
life.
That's right.
But the thing about
However,
organized religion is that it encourages you to believe things without any kind of real proof or evidence or any substantial things to be like, it's a
right.
preponderance of evidence in which I can at least believe this until I find something else that might say it's not true. Like there's no
Right.
reason in it, which on the face is fine. I mean,
Right.
like there are some good things that come out of it, and there are a lot of people who are capable of holding those beliefs while also realizing that the world is a world of science and evidence and following that logic, and they don't get caught up in the ridiculous stupidity. But there are so many evangelical morons that
Mm-hmm. That's
are brought
true.
up in, and I'm going to go air quotes here, churches in which their
Mm-hmm.
air quotes pastor has zero
Mm-hmm.
training, zero like knowledge, is just some guy who believes that God
Yeah, some guy
chose
who's
him
just like,
specially to
yeah,
deliver the
he's
word
like,
because he's
oh,
read some Bible verses once.
yeah, the the Lord spoke to me
Yeah.
and I am called to do
And
this.
they've done
And they've
no,
never gone anywhere to
they don't
like,
know Greek, they don't know Hebrew, they don't
mm-mm,
understand the complications of translations and how they've changed over the years and the things that were
right,
changed for intelligent reasons and things that were changed just because of the social context at the time.
right,
Homosexuality suddenly being added into the Bible that wasn't there before, but whatever. So,
right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
so I'm judging the fact that these people spend their lives, they grow up in these churches and they believe this stuff because they're told to believe it, and that they will burn in hell if they don't, which by the way is extortion and is not like, if they, it's not I'm choosing to believe in something for good. It's I'm
Right,
being terrified and scared that if I don't believe this, I'm going to burn in a
right,
fire of for eternity or whatever bullshit.
right,
But so they are primed to just believe stuff without any evidence at all. And
right.
that's how it's supposed to be. So they believe ridiculous bullshit. And then I
So,
have to live in a world
example,
with all of this bullshit.
yeah. Let me tell you this example I
Please.
found, and I was just like, what is this trash? There was this guy on TikTok who was showing this video of this pastor who was talking about people showing up with beards and how it is a sin to have a beard.
I'm sorry. The fuck what?
Yes. Yes, it was this guy was ranting about how beards were not biblical. Ranting about it. And this guy was going like, this is the problem. He's ranting about it and he's telling everybody, oh, beards aren't biblical. But never once in any of his spiel did he ever cite a verse.
Right?
And so he said, you get into these conversations with people where, like for this beard one example, he was like him going back and forth with himself, but it was like, oh, did you know that beards are not biblical? And it's like, yeah, but where does it say that? And he's like, oh, but my pastor told me.
Your pastor's totally a fucking moron.
Like, right. It was this whole back and forth, like, oh, but my pastor told me, yeah, but like, give me a verse. And he was like, oh, well, my pastor is this, that, and the other. And he's yada, yada. And it's like, well, that's great, but still give me a verse. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah. Well,
I agree. It's just like you get so many people out there just spewing things and you're like, but where does it actually say that?
Well, or it's,
please let me know.
And maybe you sent me this video. I don't know. I spend a lot of time on TikTok these days.
Same. It's a hole.
And so maybe
I fall into that hole all the time.
I think maybe you sent me this video because you're the only one that really sends me, and I send to you back. You're right. Out. But was this asshole, and again, air quotes, pastor in Tennessee who was saying that autism is not
that was probably me.
Not it's not a medical issue, it's possession. You're being possessed by a demon because autism is not in the Bible. And I'm like, the fuck is wrong with you? Nothing is in the modern medicine is not in the Bible. Nothing is in the Bible. Like they didn't have, and it just when like so when he was saying like, that, I'm watching it. That was the one that made me like, it triggered me because I'm watching it and I'm like, this is just like the bullshit Supreme Court being like, well, it's not in the Constitution. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Of course it's not in the Constitution. It wasn't, I think we didn't have modern healthcare. We didn't understand things in 17 whatever that we understand now. So what the hell is wrong with you?
And at the time of the Constitution, women weren't really allowed to do anything and Black people were only counted as part of a person. So it's like, what?
And I argue in the time of the Constitution, fetuses weren't people either. So what the hell? They're not people in the Constitution. But I'm just like, it's that ridiculous bullshit of, well, if it's not in the Bible, it's not real. And someone is telling me that they love Jesus, and that the government is doing these evil, bad things and eating babies, that must be true. It's that same ridiculous. To me, all organized religion does is just make people incredibly gullible. Like, I mean, it puts you at risk for believing ridiculous bullshit because you're already primed to not require evidence to believe things. And it makes me irrationally angry. I mean, we won't even count all the billions of people in history who have died in the name of whatever God you want to believe in, because that's literally all that happens in all of the world history that I learned is my religion, so I'm killing you. No, my religion, so we're killing you. Like, it's ridiculous bullshit nonsense. But like today, politics and the way we view the world and how we treat people and who matters and who doesn't is all wrapped up in this ridiculous organized religion bullshit that I'm like, you don't need this. I can care about people without having to believe something. Like, I can just care that people have basic human rights and access to things. Like, I don't have to have some moral code written by some old white guy, according to most Christianity. They're all white. They're not. Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand. And I'm just really tired of it because I don't I just it's never ending. It's because I get it a lot. Not so much here, obviously, but there are some religious people still in this part of the world, and they'll be like, I'll catch like bits of conversation and I just cringe because I'm like, you can't I can't do this.
Right.
Like, well, Jesus, blah, like Jesus would fucking punch you in the face if he were here. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, he's not hanging out with you. It's not you.
No.
But like, I'm tired of it. Like, and again, I have people that I respect who are leaders in various religions, that I think are doing good things and have good words to pass on and how to deal with this. But unfortunately, most people aren't in those progressive, forward thinking religious environments.
Right.
Most people are the people that are still stuck in our hometown going to the same podunk church with the same moron who never went to any kind of seminary and wouldn't know a Greek word if it bit him. So
Right.
I'm like, if you don't understand, like, if you don't do the work, then you can't claim God is speaking to you. He can't
Yes.
speak to you. One, that's crazy. Two, you can't tell people that you know better when you've not even bothered to learn yourself. It's annoying. It's annoying. And I hate everything. So that's my judge.
Everything.
Ugh, just tired of it. The world would be better off without any religion, honestly. At least organized. You can believe whatever you want, live your life, whatever. But like, I feel like you have to be required to be able to set that aside and learn science and evidence and the things that matter in order to determine whether an argument is good and sound, and they're not doing that. So I'm
She's just like, I'm done with it.
So done. Oh God, the world is in flames, and I'm like, can we just stop?
Oh, good grief. It's true.
Well, Claire, what are you judging today?
I'm kind of in the same boat you are. There's so many things I want to judge, but I can't really.
There's I was like, I want to judge
publicly.
this and this and this, but I'm like, people get mad.
Right. I can judge myself for how I ate last night because I kept dropping cheese on myself. I need a bib when I go out to eat every time, I swear. We went to this Mexican restaurant and we get the chimichangas and they're small. They have 4 of them. They're really small, skinny, crispy. They're really good. We get it every time we go. We're creatures of habit, Brandon and I.
Whatever.
We just get the same thing every time we go to every restaurant. And they always have like the cheese sauce over the whole thing, and they're arranged like around the edge of the plate. In the middle of the plate is the shredded cheese, the lettuce, the pico, the guac, sour cream. And I swear to you, every bite I took, I kept like dripping cheese sauce like down the front of my shirt. And the first time it happened, I went, "Oh, cheese!" And Brandon just like lost it because I just kept. But then after that, it just kept happening. Like it was like every bite, and he's like laughing at me. And I'm like, "Stop it!" And even after I'm like actively trying to lean over the plate and like hold my hand, it's still dripping on my shirt. I'm just like, I'm glad we're not going anywhere after this. I'm glad we're just like going back to the house and watching TV because this is. It wasn't terrible because I had on like a jean jacket, so it was like I could kind of like close it and cover it up. But it was just like cheese drops all down the front of my shirt. I'm just like, what are you, like 5? Like, I'm sure my nieces and nephew could get out of there looking better than I did last night. It was bad.
Maybe your shirt just really wanted some cheese. Like maybe it was just
maybe it did. I don't know.
I want some of that
oh
chimichanga.
My gosh.
Give me the chimichanga.
It was really good, yeah. But gosh, it was. And it's like that just about any time we go out to eat. Like I'm lucky if I get out of there without dropping anything on me. Always. It's just ridiculous. Just I need a bib. I just need to, And so at one point it had gotten so ridiculous. I did take my napkin and like tucked it in my shirt. I felt like I looked really stupid.
Was it?
So I took it out.
Was it Red Lobster that used to give like the Like the plastic
I think
fry
so. Like if you
around.
got like
I
if you got
never,
like the
like I
big
never had
like
anything, but
king crab, like you're
hmm
dipping it in the sauce and all that. Yeah, I think it was.
I've never
But
been that
yeah,
person. But like I can remember them existing and people having
right.
them.
Yeah, I never had one. Yeah.
I don't like to
I
work for
need
my
I
food. I'm
need something
lazy.
like that. Yeah. I need something like that when I go out to eat because it's just like, geez Louise, I'm just ridiculous. That's what I'm judging myself and my eating abilities because apparently I'm don't have any more coordination than like a toddler. So
Nice.
that's my judge. It's
Excellent
just like
judge. Yeah.
I just need to start. I need to just get an adult bib and like carry it with me.
I mean, I feel like uh I'm sure it's a movie or something that I've seen where like someone takes the tablecloth and they like tuck the tablecloth so it makes like a little like almost slide
Yes.
down and
Yep.
like that's where we should be. We should be at that place where it's just like and it goes back to the table. Thank you.
And then you just take it off and it falls on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's fine. This Mexican restaurant was not that fancy to have tablecloths,
Well,
so
no. Well,
didn't have that
it's
option.
I don't know the last time I went to a restaurant that had a tablecloth. So,
Right. Me either. It's been a minute. Only time I think I've ever been to where that has tablecloths were like fancy functions like weddings
mm-hmm.
and events like that.
I know I've
That's about
been to
it.
some macaroni. No, they had no, they did. They had
They had
tablecloths, but
that
then they also
paper
had the paper on top of the
paper
tablecloth.
so you
So
could draw.
yes. Do you remember the dick?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, guys, I
We
will
need to tell
try. I
that
will try and find that picture so that I can throw it up.
we
But
need to tell this story. Yes.
so a few years ago, Claire and I went with our friends Craig and Anjali to see Lion King. Right? Isn't that what we went to
Yep.
see? We went to see
Yep.
the Lion King in Louisville. It was amazing, super cool. And we went to a restaurant called the Macaroni Grill. I don't know if it still exists.
I think there's still one in Louisville.
Okay. But there used to be one in Lexington and it had closed. So we were excited to go to this one because we like food, obviously. And so
We like all the pasta.
it's one of those places where, again, they have tablecloths on the table, but on top of that is like a piece of paper or whatever. And they put crayons on the table for, I guess, kids or whomever.
Well, and the waiter comes and they write their name
Oh, right.
on it so you know what their name
Mm-hmm.
is.
So that's nice.
And then it's like anybody can just sit there and draw on the table. So, and then like they'll take that up and then they'll put down a new piece of paper
For the next people. Yeah.
People, yeah.
But so so we're sitting there, whatever, and I drew a flower, or because I have a picture of my flower too, I think still.
Uh-huh.
And then like they bring the bread, the delicious bread that you dip in the stuff, and everybody's happy.
Oh, it's
The
so good, yeah.
And
The oil
with the
herbs
herbs and things, and it's
spices.
so good.
Yep.
And so I moved for the first time, I moved my bread plate to the side. And underneath my bread plate, someone has drawn a tiny little penis.
But she had gotten up to go to the bathroom before that, and they were like, "Did you do that?" I was like, "No, I did not draw a penis under her plate. Like, why would I do that? I'm not that person."
Well, and so
they
like
were just like, "Did you do that?" I was like, "No."
but like they were like, "You did that before." I was like, "I didn't draw this.
I was like,
couldn't
"No,
draw
I was sitting right next
Mhm.
to her. She did not
It's
draw
like,
that
and it
under
was
the."
just it was great. It was my very first surprise penis in a restaurant.
Talk
Anyway,
about
my
it
first
unsolicited
unsolicited
completely.
dick pic, really. But it was just a cute little tiny little penis just underneath my bread plate at the macaroni grill. I'm pretty sure it was like
We
blue or
walked.
green or something, but
I think it was green. Didn't you wind up like drawing on it to turn it into a rocket or
oh, I don't
something? Or am
remember. I don't remember.
I don't either, but it was funny because it was like, where did that come from? And then it was like, oh, does she get a prize because she had the penis under her plate? Is it one of those? So yeah, that was fun times.
That was good. The fun things that happen in life. I feel like
Right.
my life goal is to, go to a restaurant and secretly draw a tiny little penis underneath someone's plate for them to find.
Right.
I feel like I'm
Gotta
supposed
pass
to
it
pass
on.
it on. I haven't yet,
Yeah.
so life goals.
Pay it forward. Pay it forward. Oh my goodness. All right. So guys, this week we're talking about Movies.
Movies.
Is it me? Am I first?
I was gonna say I don't remember who went first last time.
We did the haunted places.
We did. I think you did. You did Bobby Mackey's first. And so this week I'm first.
Okay.
Right? I think so. Okay.
I couldn't remember.
Well, I had
we'll
to.
Just say,
I had to
we'll
sit
just say
here and
that.
think about it. Be like, I think you did yours first, and then I did mine.
I think I did, but I can't say with 100% specificity. So I'm just like, eh.
All right, guys. So this week, we have our first repeat movies. So I made sure to bring something different from my initial Alfred Hitchcock versus T.P. Hedren and all that chaos. So I thought this week I would talk about one of my all-time favorite movies, The Shining. Yay.
Oh boy. I bet. Ooh. Yes.
So I got my information from Good Housekeeping.
Oh wow.
I know, right?
Good Housekeeping.
Yep. Cinemablend.com, The Daily Beast, IndieWire, and Vulture. No Wikipedia.
No Wikipedia.
I know.
Wow.
I didn't need it this time. I didn't need it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, which I can't imagine how, The Shining, I actually didn't write down the year it came out. That's sad.
Way to go. Starting us off great.
I know, right? It came out in a year so long ago. A year before 1983. 1980.
Okay.
It came out in 1980.
That's the year my parents got married.
Obviously, there is a correlation and a causation there.
There is.
So The Shining came out
100%
in 1980, famously directed by Stanley Kubrick, starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, and based on the best-selling work of Stephen King.
Loosely based on.
So, as you know, Stephen King, not the biggest fan of this particular production.
Right.
But what you may not know is that Stephen King actually wrote a draft of the screenplay for this movie.
Oh, he did.
He wrote a draft of a screenplay and gave it to Stanley Kubrick. And Stanley Kubrick didn't even bother to read it.
Wow.
And instead had Diane Johnson, who is a novelist as well. Well, writer. She's got fiction and nonfiction. She's the one who ended up writing the script, the screenplay.
I don't understand that. Because it's
so
like
weird.
Stephen King, this is his story.
I know.
And you're going to snub his screenplay for his own book.
Didn't even look at it.
Wow.
And so,
and then you're going to go hire another novelist to write a screen that if I was Stephen King, I'd be salty too.
Well, and so yes,
right.
So he hated the film.
I mean,
and
I would hate it just on principle.
Well, and
like, oh, you snubbed my script.
And I kind of thought that too. Like, I thought at first it was just kind of like a dickish thing because he wasn't completely true to the book. I have read The Shining.
Right.
Right. And unpopular opinion, I love Stephen King's stories. I think his plots are amazing. I think he's amazing. If I could meet him in real life, I would tell him to his face, I think he's amazing. I don't particularly love his writing though.
Right.
I can't completely
like his
tell
style
you what,
of writing.
Like it just, I sometimes get bored reading it. That's not even the right word. Because it's still scary. Like, I enjoyed reading The Shining, but I felt like I had to make myself read The Shining. Okay. If that makes sense. Stephen King is correct, and I'm going to read what he said about it. The scares from the movie versus the book are very different. The movie is not. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time because it's creepy and unsettling and all of those things. And the book is too, but different.
But in different ways, yeah.
But so, in June of 1983, which is a long, long time ago, Stephen King did a interview with Playboy, and in the interview talked about the movie.
Because that's one of those where it's the guys get it for the
For the
articles.
articles.
That's right.
This one in particular.
That's right.
And so I'm going to read you what he said, what Stephen King said in the interview. He said, "I admired Kubrick for a long time and had great expectations for the project, but I was deeply disappointed in the end result. Parts of the film are chilling, charged with a relentlessly claustrophobic terror, but others fall flat. I think there are two basic problems with the movie. First, Kubrick is a very cold, pragmatic, and rational man, and he had great difficulty conceiving even academically of a supernatural world. A visual skeptic such as Kubrick just couldn't grasp the sheer inhuman evil of the Overlook Hotel. So he instead looked for evil in the characters and made the film into a domestic tragedy with only vaguely supernatural overtones. That was the basic flaw, because he couldn't make the film believable to others." And you're right. You don't really get the feel of the evilness of the hotel. It's more Jack Nicholson's character
Goes crazy.
and
Yeah.
there's supernatural elements that lead him there, obviously. It's slowly driving him crazy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The second problem was in characterization and casting. Jack Nicholson, though a fine actor, was all wrong for the part. His last big role had been in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and between that and his manic grin, the audience automatically identified him as a loony from the first scene. If the guy is nuts to begin with, then the entire tragedy of his downfall is wasted. For that reason, the film has no center and no heart. It's a film by a man who thinks too much and feels too little. And that's why, for all its virtuoso effects, it never gets you by the throat and hangs on the way that real horror should.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I was reading this, I guess last night was when I got this bit. And I was like, well, God, now I need to reread The Shining. Because I was like, I remember it being different. And I'm confident that when I was reading it, I was picturing Jack Nicholson, and I need to go back and not picture Nicholson.
Yeah.
Because Stephen King's right. And ultimately, my favorite Stephen King book is his nonfiction work on writing. And in that, you learn a lot about Stephen King. It's part memoir. You learn a lot about his life and, how he got to where he is and the things, the ups and downs. And he was a heavy drinker and was not a great guy for a while and had a lot of problems and almost lost his wife and kids. And it was, not great. And so I then understood The Shining to really be sort of a story about himself. And when you see Jack Nicholson play that, it's like that isn't authentic to what that story really was.
Gotcha.
So I get Stephen King's feels. But we're going to move beyond that.
Well, and I guess part of it too is because I'm not that old. As far as, connecting Jack Nicholson from The Shining to Cuckoo's Nest. I knew he was in Cuckoo's Nest.
I don't think I've ever seen
I know
Cuckoo's
that
Nest.
he was in The Shining. Yeah. It's like I know he's in The Shining, but I guess I didn't. I never thought about the fact that he did that before he had done this, and so people would automatically.
It'd be like casting.
Be like, oh well, this is another
Anthony Hopkins as another serial killer, but
exactly
that was like a different kind. But I can't get over it, because I can't watch him in any movie and not expect him to try and eat people. It's even if that's not his role. He may be like the good guy in the movie, and I'm like, I don't trust you.
You're like, no.
So I'm guessing that was at play here, and that's not what Stephen King wanted. Well, and again, I still go back to Kubrick didn't even read his screenplay. Like, what a dick move. Right. Although, to be fair, Kubrick sounded like a giant dick. I mean, not a super nice guy.
No.
So, whatever.
like all the stories out there about how he treated his
Mm-hmm.
actors, and especially like Shelley
Yes,
Duvall, and
yes.
yeah,
I talk
like
about that a little bit here.
okay.
Um, so we're gonna move forward. So I just wanted to start off with that because you should read the book if you have any interest, because it is different and it has a different ending and different things happen. So, you know.
Right.
Kubrick himself was inspired by David Lynch's Eraserhead when he made this movie. So he really liked what David Lynch had done and was like, I'm going to go that route. And Jack Nicholson got the role primarily because he needed a box office success. And that's why he pushed so hard to get the role.
Gotcha.
Um,
I mean, because I get it. Like Cuckoo's Nest is one of those. It's like, oh, it's a artistic success.
well, I think it was
You know,
he needed something. Yeah, he needed something to make his name big again.
right.
But he also felt a personal connection to the character, and as a result helped write a scene for the movie.
Okay.
The scene where he erupts in like a fury, like when he gets really angry at his wife while he's in the midst of the writer's block and he's like biting her head off. Jack Nicholson said, the scene at the typewriter, that's what I was like when I got my divorce. I was under the pressure of being a family man with a daughter, and one day I accepted a job to act in a movie in the daytime, and I was writing a movie at night. And I'm back in my little corner, and my beloved wife Sandra walked in on what was, unbeknownst to her, this maniac. And I told Stanley about it, and we wrote it into the scene. So that was Jack Nicholson acting out something pretty real.
Like what he had. Oh, okay.
Which I'm like, all right then.
Okay.
But Jack is an interesting character too.
Right.
He got into his role of being like that on the edge of like just a freak out or whatever, because you can feel it, like there's always tension whenever he's around. You can tell that he's just like one step away from a total crazy reaction. And he said he got into his role by eating only cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks leading up to filming. He hates cheese sandwiches, and he did it on purpose so that he would just be grouchy and irascible. And I'm like, fuck. What a weird thing to do.
That is so. I'm gonna eat the thing that I hate
for 2 weeks, and that's all he ate, nothing else. And I'm like, all right.
I mean,
I guess I kind of was like, what if
I love me some cheese sandwiches, so that would not
Right.
put me in a grouchy mood. I can tell you that right now.
But I was like, couldn't you have just like read the book? No.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. It's just like there is something out there to give you insight into this character other than who wrote this screenplay. It's like, whatever.
So one of the famous things from the movie is the hedge maze that we all love. I would love to have a hedge maze like that, or just to go. I love it. It's amazing. Kubrick was really concerned that the hedge maze was too easy to solve because they built it. They made it for the movie.
Like
it doesn't
an
exist
actual
anywhere.
hedge maze.
Like they made it for the movie.
Gotcha.
And his crew was like, no, it's not easy. And he's like, it's too easy. And they're like, you know what? If you think it's so easy, you go and solve it. So one morning, Kubrick went through the maze and got stuck. Couldn't find his way out.
Like, that's what you get.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is like instant karma, right there.
The crew was like, bitch, please, this is bad. Because, so you may not know, this movie took a really long time to film. One, because Kubrick is a giant perfectionist, insane person, which I'll get into.
Because didn't he go back and like refilm stuff?
Yeah,
it was insane. Yeah.
But it was also because of things like the hedge maze. So the crew had a hard time with the maze as well. So it took over a month to shoot the scene where Jack is chasing Danny through the hedge maze. Which you'll remember is basically the camera just following Danny running through a maze, running through.
Right.
And so
yeah.
The crew is just following the kid running. and they'd get lost in the maze, and they'd have to like walkie-talkie each other, figure out how to get out. Like they just couldn't get out. They couldn't.
Gosh.
And I was like, good Lord, good Lord.
Maybe they should have made it easier to figure it out.
And just an aside, there's not a hedge maze in the book.
Yeah.
There are animals that are cut into hedges. So, like a giant elephant or a bunny or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, it's been a long time since I read it, I think they come to life at the end. Animals do. It's way more supernatural in the book than in the movie. Lots more weird things happen. But so hedge maze was good times, fun. Everybody got lost.
It's easy, but it's not easy. So
one of the other super famous scenes, of course, is where he's hacking into the bathroom door, and he finally gets a hole, and he goes, "Here's Johnny."
Here's Johnny.
Completely improvised, not part of the script.
Oh,
he just did it once, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's good," and they kept it.
Nice. Those are some of the best ones, though. It's like, oh, this wasn't written. This was just completely off the cuff.
Another really cool improvisation has to do with Danny Lloyd, who plays Danny Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
He improvised so the imaginary friend is part of the story, but when they were doing like all the auditions or whatever, he was the only little kid who he changed the voice for Tony and made it sound terrifying, as we all know, and moved his finger like Tony was talking through his finger.
Gotcha.
And he improvised that just as a little kid, and they're like, "Oh, we like that. We're doing that."
Right.
Sorry, I heard something weird.
Did you know, a side note, the guy who played Danny is a teacher at the college in the town that I live in?
I did know that because...
And that's insane to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially because some more fun things about him. So he was a little kid. I don't remember how old he was. 6, 7.
I was gonna say, yeah,
he
was
little.
6. Yeah.
So he had no idea that he was in a horror movie. He was told he was filming a drama.
Right.
And so he's just filming this movie, has no idea. He didn't learn until later that it was a horror movie, and he didn't actually watch the whole movie in its entirety until he was in his teens. So several years later, he was like, "Oh,
oh, this is the movie I did when I was 6."
And I was like, that explains so much about his reticence about it now. Because can you imagine 10 years later being like, "This is the movie I did? Why didn't you just tell me?" Oh, it's weird.
Right.
So,
well, not only that, they say that if you have him in class, that first day, he's just like, "We don't talk about it. Don't ask me about it. If you do, I'm going to fail you."
Dude, I would take the class just to ask. I'm like, "You can fail me, but I just need to know."
Right.
I mean,
and so one of my friends in the little nerd group that I'm a part of, she's a big fan of all things horror, and another person in the group, I don't know how she got it, but she got the Funko Pop and was able to get it signed by him, and got it for other girl in the group. And it really was, because it's everybody knows that he does not.
Well, but
he doesn't dwell on that part of his life, I guess.
Fair.
So it's just one of those. It's I don't want to spend my entire semester with you people talking about that,
And that's fair. But also, I feel like it would be like if Daniel Radcliffe was like, I did that, but I've moved on as an actor. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But that was a big part of people's lives. I love The Shining. To me, it's the visualness of it all. It's the creepy, the spook. It was one of the first scary movies that I was enthralled by. I was like, whoa, I've never seen anything like this, and it's older than me, so it's it holds up. I still like to watch it. Everything about it is just spooky in a good way, and I would love to have assigned Danny Torrance to be like, especially if he had his little finger. I want the little finger guy. Oh no. Yeah.
A signed Funko Pop.
Yes. And, like, it's fine to be like, there's a certain time that I will do this. Here is like the one day or the one thing that I go to. This is it. This is all the only time I do it. Fine.
Right.
Have all the boundaries. But like, don't be mean. Let people have their joy.
Right. There are so many people who love it. It's like part of their, they love that kind of stuff.
Yes,
Yeah, I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
All right. Did you know that Danny's big wheel ride through the hotel was the result of some tech innovation?
No, I don't think so.
So in 1975, the stabilizer mount, I don't really know exactly what that means, was introduced and became revolutionary. And Kubrick loved it so much, the ability to have it. Essentially, it let cameras move without, having to jerk or whatever.
Without, yeah.
And without having to have tracks, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, Kubrick loved it so much, he hired the inventor Garrett Brown to be part of the Shining filming. And so they, using that, they were able to, because I guess it helped stabilize the camera, the mount or whatever, so that it didn't shake. So they flipped it upside down and zoomed in to like the 2 to 3 inches off of the floor.
Yeah.
And the operator of the camera rode in a specially designed wheelchair so that they were following Danny as he's pedaling through the hotel.
Okay.
And they were even more excited when they discovered, going through like the footage or whatever, that it had caught the alteration of sound between the carpet and the hardwood floor, and they kept it in.
Oh, okay.
Which is also spooky sounding when it's weird.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was like, that's cool. That's a cool thing.
That's kind of cool though, how he got the guy who invented it. Like,
it's like,
come be a part of my production.
so this can be even better.
Help me do some other things. Yeah.
Okay, so many of you know that the outside of the Overlook is actually the outside of the Timberline Lodge in Mount Hood, Oregon. We've been.
Yes, we have.
We went there.
I bought a mug. I got a mug that says the Overlook Hotel.
I still have my magnet on the fridge. It makes me happy.
Right.
But the Timberline Lodge, though it was not interior shots. It was just the outside. But the Timberline was concerned, since it was the exterior for this scary movie, that people might not want to stay in the scary room, because there's one room that's super scary. In the book, the room number is 217. The Timberline has a room 217, and like, we don't want people to be afraid to stay in that room. So for the movie, the room changed to 237. Because there is no room 237 at the Timberline. So that was a fun fact. I was like, oh, I don't know that I realized they had different room numbers in the book and movie, because why would I hold on to that knowledge?
Right. Okay. Now, I did know that the room was 237 because there's some kind of like documentary.
Yes, I can talk about
or
that
something
too.
About, yeah. Yeah. That's why I know the room number in the movie.
But I didn't realize it was different from the book. I just didn't know.
Gotcha.
So, reminder, this is 1980, okay? Just want you to remember that that's the year this movie came out. As we all know, there's a very famous scene in which we discover that all Jack had been doing was typing pages that say all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, like over and over and over and over. And you see stacks of it. There are 500 pages of that.
Okay.
And Kubrick's secretary spent months typing them all.
Oh, so that each of them actually did have that on there? Like, we're not just gonna like cover the bottom page, they're just gonna be blank.
Well, and she also recreated them in 5 other languages for international releases.
What?
And I'm like, copiers came out in like 1960. What the hell? Like, couldn't you afford to just make some copies? Good God.
I mean, seriously.
I was like, can you imagine that being a job? I just have to keep typing this over and over and over and over and over. Like, I mean, did she go insane and kill him? Because I might
I
have.
mean, right. That's ridiculous.
Ugh. So when I see that now, I'm gonna have a different feel. When I'm like, oh God.
Right. You're just like, oh, some poor person had to do
Yeah.
this.
Well, and again, like you said, you only see maybe 10 of those pages. So what the heck?
Right.
Mm.
I'm like, just make the rest of them blank.
Right?
Or like you said, use a copier. Come on.
Just use a copier. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as you mentioned, Shelley Duvall did not have a great experience filming. She was super
Yeah.
stressed out on the film all the time. And it was
Uh-huh.
due to Kubrick intentionally, constantly antagonizing her because he wanted to get her more frenzied for filming. And
Yes.
so she
Yep.
was constantly sick. Like she was sick and like most of the time that she was filming this movie and was so stressed out that like her hair started falling out.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, this is not okay.
I mean, I feel like that's like actor abuse. I'm
Yes.
just saying that's
Well,
like, no.
and especially when, you know, you realize how long this movie took to make. So for example, the elevator scene that we all know with the blood pouring out.
Yes.
It took them about a year to finally get that scene because even though they only did 3 takes of it, I guess in my mind, I thought it was a miniature that they had filmed. I never imagined it
Right.
being
Yeah.
like a full stage or anything.
Right.
But apparently it took 9 days to clean up the hallway between takes because of all the blood.
So this was like
It
a
was real. And it took them,
Whoa.
you know, forever to fill up the elevator again because it's a full-sized elevator.
Right. Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I just thought it was like a miniature.
Right. Like, yeah. Well, not like, oh, this is life size and we're
Well, and I
really
think they
making
had to like
this.
specially build the elevator in order to hold the liquid because otherwise it would just pour
Yeah.
out because it's an
Right.
elevator. So, also the axe scene again, the Here's Johnny. The axe scene, it took 60 doors before they got it right. He hacked through 60 doors for that shot.
Wow.
The set also burned down.
Okay.
A huge fire broke out near the end of the filming of the movie, and several of the set pieces were destroyed and had to be remade.
Wow.
Fun fact, in the book, the hotel burns down. So it felt kind of like,
It's a Stephen King's
it
revenge.
is Stephen King's revenge. But Kubrick, as you can tell from the door and the elevator and all the other things, was a perfectionist. He took more shots of minute scenes so that he could have different angles and different directions of the camera and everything. Like he did more than he has like the world record for most takes of a single scene because
Wow.
like he sounded bananas. I was God.
Right.
Ugh. In fact, it took so long so they had to keep their stages and things that they had rented that it delayed the release of 3 other movies because they couldn't get onto a set to start filming.
Wow.
Which includes a book I don't know called a movie called Reds. That was like a historical biopic maybe or something. I don't know. I'd never heard of it.
Okay.
But also Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, nice.
And Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. They were all delayed because of the
Because of Shining. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So Stanley Kubrick was just being super extra.
Right? So that brings me to my last point or my last topic here. The documentary Room 237.
Yes.
Now, I watched it a long time ago. I tried to find it again to rewatch it, but I can't find it streaming for free anywhere, which is sad.
Right.
So, did not. But There are lots of theories that Kubrick's movie, The Shining, is his way of discussing various topics of the day, I guess.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest conspiracy theories that they think is happening in the movie is that Kubrick uses The Shining as a way to confess to his part in helping film the fake moon landing.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
They say that, so there is a scene where Danny is playing with his toys and he hears something or sees something near room 237. And so he gets up and you realize that his sweater is an Apollo 11 sweater that he's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And he then starts walking towards the infamous room 237. And
Right.
the key to that room is in the door, and the keychain has the label room number room and like NO 237. And they say that the letters could be rearranged to spell moon room. I don't really get it. Like, I've seen the keychain. It doesn't look like anything to me, but it's a whole big thing that they go into. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
sure. And remember, it's room 237, and the moon is about 237,000 miles from Earth.
Ah.
And there is a scene when they're like in the storage areas with all the food or whatever, that have a prevalence of Tang cans, so you can make Tang.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, was created for astronauts.
Okay.
So that's...
So it's all subliminal.
And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. That's fine. Okay. One of the other...
You're like, okay.
Yeah. One of the other big conspiracy theories is that it is Kubrick. I don't know if he's talking about the Holocaust or having some kind of conversation about the Holocaust. It's such a weird... whole thing's weird. Just watch the documentary. It's weird.
It
But
is weird.
apparently in the movie, there is a lot of recurring use of the number 42. And 1942 is the year that the Germans put the quote unquote final solution into place. Concentration camps and death and misery.
Right.
So in the parking lot of the Overlook Hotel, there are 42 vehicles parked there. Like at the beginning. Danny and his mom watched the movie Summer of 42 on TV. And
maybe he just really liked 42.
Well, isn't 42 the meaning of life?
It is.
That's kind of what I was going for.
That's it. Yep.
There's one of the scenes where he's talking to Tony in the mirror. Danny is wearing a shirt that has like 42 on the arm.
Okay.
The Overlook Hotel was built in 1907, and 42 is a multiple of 7.
I'll have to go back and watch. It's been a minute since I've seen The Shining. Yeah, it's not something that I watch over and over again. But
the final shot of the movie is a photo that was taken in July, the 7th month of the year. But there's also lots of eagles in the movie. The typewriter that Jack types on is an Adler, which is a German manufacturer, which translates to eagle. Eagle being the symbol of the Third Reich.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Also the symbol of America. Whatever. And then my favorite is, I love when people just like make the extra effort here. So the typewriter and the 500 pages of all work and no play, yada yada, symbolize the Third Reich's mechanical methods of killing and their obsession with list making. I don't know.
That seems like a little bit
right. I'm like, it's a typewriter. Okay.
I know, it's just like, okay. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where you could read anything.
That's actually
into
what
anything
I love so much about this documentary, because it is unofficial and they didn't talk to anybody. It's just their own.
Oh yeah,
It's magical.
It's just all these
It's
people and their
magical.
theories.
It's so
Yeah.
magical. But finally,
Yep.
Wendy brings a breakfast tray to Jack in one scene. And in that scene, Jack is wearing a yellow shirt with an eagle on it.
That's it. That seals the deal right there.
All right. And then the last, I mean, there's lots of conspiracies in the documentary. You should watch it. The last one is about Native American genocide. So the theory is that the film is not only about the fake moon landing and the Holocaust, but is also about the horrible crimes that were perpetrated on Native Americans by whites.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Their evidence in the movie and not the book. So this was written just for the movie. In the movie, the Overlook Hotel was said to be built on a Native American burial ground, of course.
Yes.
In the Overlook Hotel, in the decor, there are lots of Native American artifacts and designs throughout. And again, in the pantry where we found the tang, you can also find Calumet baking powder. The label of which, at that time, I don't think it does anymore. Surely not. But at that time, had a Native American as like the emblem, as the picture on it.
Okay, gotcha.
Calumet, by the way, means peace pipe. And the cans symbolize the broken peace pipe, both between white men and natives and between Jack and his family. And one of the people who made the documentary says that The Shining suggests we can only escape this nightmare of history by retracing our steps, just as Danny Torrance does in The Hedge Maze. Okay. I love it so much. I feel like it's a college paper where you're like trying really hard to make up connections that aren't there to impress your teacher, but it's a total bunch of bullshit.
Right. You're like, compare and contrast and tell me about the themes of this movie. And that's what, it's what it sounds like.
and that is my fascinating information on The Shining. Everyone should go watch it.
They should. And read
the book.
I probably need to do both.
Yeah.
Again, it's been a minute.
I think maybe I should try listening to the audiobook. Because I bet that would be... The book is big and heavy.
It is.
I ended up getting it in like a paperback, so it'd be smaller, but the tiny print. Because Stephen King writes a lot. He's not really a short story kind of a guy.
He's very wordy.
But it's very good, and I liked it. I actually meant to read Dr. Sleep because...
Right, yeah, I've not seen that movie.
I have... My favorite scary movie trope is the house is alive and evil. You know,
right? Yeah,
that's my favorite. I love when the building itself is the enemy.
It's the building, and it's
the
not
building.
like
it's not the people. The building is like messing with you, and like I love the. It was like a mini series. It was like 3 episodes or something. Called Rose Red. Stephen King wrote it, but it was not a book. He just wrote the screenplay. But it was like, this is my favorite trope. The house is bad and the house builds itself and the house makes people disappear. And I'm like, I love this. It's
my favorite. Nice. I dig it. That was excellent.
Thank you.
I loved it.
So I leave you with the need to watch and read The Shining and also Room 237. Because it's good for some kicks and giggles. It's amusing. It's interesting, you know?
Yeah.
I almost bought the moon landing thing. I was like, okay. But then they kept going. It's like the blood from the elevator is the Holocaust. It's like, is it? I don't think it's that.
Right.
But okay.
You're like, what?
Okay. So Claire, what did you bring us from movies?
I'm going to talk about, because it's a movie and a book, the true story behind In Cold Blood.
Ooh, I love it.
So, In Cold Blood was a book written by Truman Capote in 1965. And it was first actually a four-part story released in the New Yorker in 1964
Okay,
before it
that's
actually became
horrifying. As I have read that, I don't think I'd want to read that in my newspaper.
right. Yeah, it's a four-part story, and I mean it's not a
No.
short book by any means. So I'm like, how long were these parts? Like what is it? Yeah, four-part story in the New Yorker in 1964, and then was published as a book in 1965, and then 2 years later became a movie in 1967,
Wow,
starring.
that's fast. I don't think I
I
realized it
know
was that
every
quick.
and then when you find out that like all of this like came to a head just like 4 years before that,
Right?
like it's just everything is so it's all right there. It's not like, oh, we waited 2 decades to write a story
I
about this
guess in
thing,
my
that happened
mind,
20 years ago.
I mean, it's been 100. I mean, I read it in high school, but it's been 100 years at this point. But in
Right.
my mind,
Hmm.
like he talked to them like 10 years later, and then it became a movie 15 years later or something. Like I don't know. It's like
No.
I had no idea it was that
No, like
close.
the actual events happened in 59.
Uh huh.
They and then he wrote it in 64, which became a book in 65 and 67. So all of it happened in like
In less
under
than 10 years. Oh
10
my! Can
years.
you
Yeah.
imagine being like friends of the family and being like, the fuck? Oh God. Okay.
Right. Like you've not had like you've hardly had any time to process it.
Damn. Oh.
But
Okay. Okay.
the movie starred Robert Blake and Scott Wilson.
Mhm.
Scott Wilson has been in several things. Like most recent thing I can think of is he was in a couple of seasons of Walking Dead.
Hmm.
Anyway, Herschel, I think that's who he played. Herschel in Walking Dead. Anyway, and then in 1996 there was a mini series. It was like two parts starring Sam Neill, Anthony Edwards, and Eric Roberts. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so the story that spawned all this it happened in Holcomb, Texas, and it involved the Clutter family. And you have the dad, Herbert Clutter, and his wife, Bonnie. They were 48 and 45, respectively, at the time. Their 16-year-old daughter, Nancy, who was the third child. They had two older children who had already left the home, Beverly, and I'm going to say Eviana. That's how you pronounce that.
Sure.
Eviana. Nancy was the third child. And then they had a son named Kenyon, who was 15, and he was the youngest and the only boy. And Herb was a prosperous farmer. He had several people employed under him at the farm. Everybody said that he and his wife were just like the kind of, good old salt of the earth people,
Mm-hmm.
trustworthy. They didn't, I mean, these people didn't have enemies. Okay. I mean, they just farmed. That's really what it was. Bonnie, she had studied to become a nurse, but wound up suffering from depression. Some of it may have been postpartum depression after having the children, but that kept her from like actually becoming a nurse. So she would help keep the household and the farm just running smoothly with her husband. And Nancy was a straight A student. She was a senior at Holcomb High School, played the clarinet in the band, and she was active in 4-H. And she loved horseback riding, baking, needlepoint, sewing, all the things I don't. I mean, baking. I can bake. Eh. I'm just like, what is this sewing business?
Which reminds me, I need to go sew a button on a shirt for Spencer.
I know it's like I can do simple things like that. It's like needlepoint, not so much. No, 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 no. And then Kenyon was a sophomore. They said he was quiet, shy kid that he just enjoyed hunting and woodworking and working on an old pickup truck that he wanted to drive once he was able to get his license. And he was also active in 4-H.
I can't
So, I mean,
imagine being able to fix a vehicle that I wasn't allowed to drive. Like I'm not old enough to be able to drive, but I know how to fix it. That seems
right. Right. I guess it was like one of those like, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna fix it up, and then I'm gonna get my license.
But
I
I mean, like
guess. I don't know.
this is before the Google to tell you how to do stuff. Like how do you...
Right. So this is just like you just had to magically know how to do it. Yeah. Or back to before, all the cars were computerized, and it was just basically like you can replace this one part with another with this, it was I feel like computers have kind of made cars more complicated to fix
I'm gonna
sometimes.
be honest. I couldn't fix the car that had no computer either. So my
It's
brain
true.
doesn't work like that.
It's true. And
I'm
so
a
then
creative Claire.
that's right. You have the other players in this story. There's a guy named Perry Smith. Um, some background. These are the guys who were going to commit the crime. Um, Smith, Perry Smith, was abused as a child. His mother was an alcoholic who died choking on her own vomit.
Oh,
And I'm just like, that's gross. He and his siblings, once his mother died, she left his really abusive father, but I guess she just couldn't get over that. But once his mother died, he and his siblings were sent to a Catholic orphanage. And Smith claims that they were abused there. And so then they were sent to a home run by the Salvation Army. And after they got out, two of his siblings unalived themselves. And then his remaining sister moved away. She just didn't really want to have anything to do with him. He was, and it was, not having a mother really there. And the abuse just talked about how he really didn't have the capacity for empathy and, his emotions,
fair. Honestly, yeah.
you know.
It's almost
And
like
so
there are people who shouldn't have kids, Claire.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, probably. I'd say so. So he joined the army and he fought in the Korean War. He was a troublemaker who liked to start fights, but he was honorably discharged in 52. 4 years later, he was convicted of breaking and entering, and he was sentenced to 5 to 12 years. And that is where he met Richard Hickok, who Hickok was born into poverty. He was really poor. He was a talented and popular athlete in high school, but because of his financial situation, uh, wasn't able to go to college. He became a mechanic, got married, had 3 kids with his wife, and one other kid with a mistress.
Well,
Um,
gotta spread that seed.
and then ultimately wound up single. Wonder why?
Can't imagine.
Yeah. And he wound up being like scarred on his face, like marred from a car accident in 1950. And that left him bitter and insecure. And so he turned to a life of petty crime, breaking and entering, check fraud, that kind of thing. And he eventually was handed a 5-year sentence in prison, and where he met Perry Smith. So these two guys meet in prison. Hickok roomed with, or his cellmate, not roomed, I guess. His cellmate was a guy named roomed with, because like it was a choice. Just roomed with. Okay. His cellmate was a guy named Floyd Wells, and Floyd was a former employee of the Clutters farm. And so, oh, you froze on me. There we go. You're back.
Okay.
But he was a former employee of Herb Clutter on the farm, and he tells Hickok that Herb kept a lot of cash on hand at the house on the farm. Yeah. You're just like, So, do what? I know, right? You're just like, So once Hickok gets out of jail, he concocts this huge plan to rob the Clutters. And so he hooks up with Perry Smith, and he wants him to help him with his plan to rob them, their farmhouse. And uh, then once their plan was, once they had the money, which was supposed to be around 10K.
Wow.
Back in the day, which is a lot today, that they would be able to start over again in Mexico. That was their whole big plan, was just like get the money. There's supposed to be a safe.
Why is everybody's plan Mexico
I don't know.
In the early days, I guess.
Right, yeah. So that was, I guess, because it's probably more accessible than like getting on a plane and flying somewhere back then.
Fair, but it's like we can start again in
Canada,
Mexico. I mean, okay,
I know. I don't know. Like, why wouldn't you go to Canada?
Yeah,
in fact, it'd be like, let's go to Canada. Everybody's going to Mexico.
That's right. It's like,
let's go to Canada.
Let's do Canada.
Right. Maybe they just didn't like cold weather. I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I disagree, but I can understand.
I know you disagree. So on November 14th, 1959, Smith and Hickok drove more than 400 miles across Kansas to reach the Clutter home in Holcomb, Kansas, to execute their plan. And in the early morning hours of November 15th, 1959, the two ex-cons walked into the Clutter home armed with a 300 gauge shotgun and a knife. So it was definitely going to be armed robbery at that point. They began ransacking the house looking for this supposed safe that Floyd Wells had told them about, and they couldn't find the safe. I forgot to tell you my sources. Grunge.com, Wikipedia, Ranker.com, and GC Police, which stands for Garden City
Oh,
Police.org. And that's why I was like, some of the sources made it sound like Herb heard them and woke up. Other sources made it sound like they went and got him out of bed, like, where's your safe? So I'm not quite sure which one of that. So anyway, Herb is awake. They're like, where's your safe? He's like, I don't have a safe.
right.
And it's, he didn't. He
Right.
said he didn't keep any cash on the farm. It was in the bank.
Yeah.
Anything they wanted was in the bank. He dealt by writing checks. Like, he never just kept a bunch of cash on hand. Um, he gave them the cash he had, which was like $50. And so then they get the rest of the family up and gathered and shove them into a bathroom, the mom and the daughter and the son, and they're making him like try, and he's just like, I don't have cash. There's no safe. I don't know who told you this. They're wrong.
Right.
you
He's like,
know,
I don't have this.
just I don't
Yeah.
yeah,
Take
like
whatever
you're
you
you're
want.
looking
You
for
can have
something.
anything.
Yeah, like all the money is in the bank and
Mhm.
it's like really early in the morning, the bank's not open kind of thing. So they took all the family and separated them. Once they realized that there really was nothing, they tied them up and separated them. They put the mom in her home bedroom in her bed. And when I'm talking tied them, like tied their hands, their feet,
Mhm.
gag them, that kind of thing. The daughter, they didn't gag her, but they did tie her up, put her in her own bedroom on the bed. The son, he was downstairs in the basement. It said like an adjoining room that used to be a playroom for them as kids, and they left him on this couch tied up. And then the dad, Herb, they had him like in this furnace room in the basement. And Hickok, it said Hickok went back up one more time just to like ransack the house again to see if he could find anything.
Mhm.
And he couldn't. So he came back downstairs and they're talking, and at that point it's really like they could have just left,
Yeah.
because I mean they didn't tell them their names. They'd just be like, these two guys.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess, possibly describe them to the police, but no guarantee that the whoever, like the artist who drew them would, because
Yeah.
sometimes those don't really look like the person. I mean, they kind of do, but then sometimes they don't,
Mhm.
but I guess they just decided like nobody's getting out of this alive, so we're gonna, so they're talking like how to do it, and that it says how Perry Smith just got so enraged that he was prone to fits of rage anyway, that he slits Herb's throat and shoots him in the
Oh,
head.
wow.
He's like on this mattress in the basement. And then it says that then he goes into the adjoining room and he shoots the son, Kenyon, in the head. And then they also go upstairs and they shoot Nancy in the head, and then they shoot the mom last. They've both in the head. And Smith later claimed that he had to keep Hickok from raping Nancy. Don't know how true that is.
Mhm.
Uh, but that's what he told the police, is that he kept him from doing that to her. So there was no like sexual assault with any of this. It was just they murdered him. And so then after that, obviously, they immediately fled the area. And for those of you people who are curious and whatever, I'm not showing pictures of this. You can find
Mm-mm.
pictures on the internet. So
I think I remember pictures from high school when I read it and being like,
right. No, I mean, if you are curious, because I know people are, and I don't really think there's anything really wrong with it, because in my search for this stuff, I did see pictures. Not throwing them up here, but if you want to see pictures from the crime scene,
they're there.
They're there for you to satisfy your egg bag, I guess. So after this, they got away with $50, a pair of binoculars, and a transistor radio. All that for just nothing.
Yeah.
Really. They fled the area, wound up in Kansas City, where Perry Smith wrote several hot checks, and once people in Kansas City were onto them and they overstayed their welcome, they fled to Mexico, where they stayed for a little while. They pawned off the radio and the binoculars, and then they came back up and hitchhiked back through California on their way to Omaha. And from Omaha, they went to Iowa, and in Iowa, they stole a car. And then they went back to Kansas City.
Why?
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Fuckers.
and then they went on down to Florida, and then they come back to Nevada. All this, okay, this happened in November 15th. They finally get caught on December 31st. So all this happened
they went
in like
all that travel, like they just never stopped
in
traveling.
a month and a half.
Holy crap!
Like a month and a half of running around like that. And I think that's when I was looking at the timeline, I'm like, that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't think
for a month and a half.
I could go to all those places in a month and a half. That's insane.
I mean, I just feel like you'd be driving every day. Yeah. Especially you think about, like, you go down to Mexico and then back up to California, and because they hitchhiked.
Right.
So they hitchhiked back up to California, and then they didn't even get the car until Iowa. So this whole time they were like hitchhiking. So yeah, it's insane. Anyway, so back at the crime scene, it's the Garden City Police Assistant Chief Rich Rohleder. I don't know.
Sure.
Rohleder. He was photographing this grisly crime scene. It said that they found them, a friend of Nancy's, whose name was also Nancy, would go to church with them, ride with church to them on Sundays, and that her dad dropped her off to hitch a ride with them to church, and she's knocking and nobody answered. And so then she and her dad, they, go to the police, and then they come back out and they're just like, can't find them, and because this is back in the day, nobody locked their doors. So after they leave, they come back, they go in. There's another friend of Nancy's who's with this girl by this point. They go in and they're the ones who find the bodies.
Aww.
And I'm just like, that sucks that kids were the ones who, and I mean, at least her dad was there, but still, it's just like,
yeah, they traumatized enough knowing that it happened. They don't need to see it.
Right. But anyway, this Chief Rohleder was photographing this grisly crime scene, and said he was able to photograph a boot print that was near Herb's body, and he was also able to photograph some tire tracks left at the crime scene. And a man named Alvin Dewey with the Kansas Bureau of Investigations, he was the lead on investigating this. He was able to piece together evidence which was corroborated by Floyd Wells, who decided to rat out his two former prison mates for some reward money that was being offered. Because he's like, oh, well, I told this guy about, and I'm just like, you're the reason.
You're the reason. Yeah.
You're the reason they were there.
You lied and said there's something there that wasn't, and you made this happen.
Yes.
Gross.
But as karma would have it, Floyd was later killed in a Mississippi prison break where he was trying to break out.
Well, good.
So he also got his. But like I said, law enforcement caught up with Smith and Hickok in Nevada on December 31st, 1959. They were still driving the stolen car from Iowa.
Of course they were.
Because, yes, right, I know. And they also, in the car, found the boot that matched the print at the crime scene.
Rookie mistake. You gotta get rid of all the things you had.
Right. So they were able to like match that boot to the print. So that kind of sealed the deal. So Alvin Dewey, once they were like, we caught them, he flew to Nevada to interrogate them and got I guess a fairly quick confession because of the evidence. Um, Smith claimed that Hickok pulled the trigger on Nancy and Bonnie, but he would accept the blame for the sake of Hickok's mother because he said he felt sorry for Dick's mother. She's a real sweet person.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
So he said he would accept the blame for all four to save Richard Hickok's mom from some kind of pain. But then of course Hickok maintained that Smith killed all four of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the one, he was just like, I didn't do it. He killed all four of them. So the criminals were extradited back to Kansas, stood trial at the Finney County Courthouse in Garden City, and both were found guilty of 4 counts of first degree murder and sentenced to death.
Good.
And both were hanged in the Kansas State Prison on April 14th, 1965. So, what's his face? Capote released this stuff before they were actually executed
Oh, okay.
into the New Yorker, but I don't know what month the book came out. But so
Right. Huh.
And I read a thing about when they did the movie, the one in 1967. I guess at the premiere, Scott Wilson, when he watched it, he said he watched it and then he went and he threw up in the bathroom.
Ah.
Like, I guess it's hard to see yourself portray somebody who's that,
Well, especially when it's a
who
real
does that
person
kind
who
of
really
thing.
did that. It's not.
Right. And these are real people who
Yeah,
actually
it's not a
passed
made up
away.
thriller or whatever. It's real.
Right. But this was like Capote writing this book was like one of the first like nonfiction, because the way he wrote it, it reads like a novel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure he did, but it's one of the first nonfiction true crime
I was
like
gonna
stories.
say, I think it
So
was my first true crime read ever. That was like a
yeah,
real. I mean, like I read little kid
right,
short story things that were true, but
right.
that was my
Same.
first
I
true
think because
crime, and it
Dad,
was.
yeah,
I mean, like I vividly remember reading it in high school and being like, I can't believe I'm reading this. This is didn't know stuff like this
right,
existed. This is horrifying, but also I want to read more.
right. And I remember, I think I read it before that because Dad, where he would like bring stuff home that he was teaching his
Mm-hmm.
students, I would grab books and read them. So I think I grabbed a copy of it before, like I may have been in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I
that's what, yeah.
I think I
I
read
think it
it
was one of mine,
sophomore
other
year
than like, okay.
because
But yeah, I think I might have been in middle school.
I think um so I think my sophomore year was like the year of the fuck am I reading? Because we read In Cold Blood, we read um the Holocaust survivor book, Alicia.
Alicia.
Mm-hmm. We read
Alicia.
that because she
I read
came and
that one
spoke and we
too.
all saw her. So we read that as well.
Yep.
And we also read Alive, the story of the soccer team that.
Yes, and the Andes.
And I was just like, this is a lot of
Yes.
nonfiction that is really dark and twisted.
Right.
And I
I
was
mean,
like, okay.
100%. Yeah.
I read them all the same year. So thanks.
But yeah, Dad would bring home some stuff, and I was, other than like Dateline, because I think that was
Right. Like I
when
had been
probably around middle
watching,
school.
I'd been watching
Yeah.
like I'd watched a lot of true
Yeah.
crime stuff, but I had never
Right.
read anything
Read it.
like
Yeah.
that. And it's dark. I mean,
Right.
yeah. Even now I have yet to reread it because I'm afraid that it'll change how I feel about
Same.
it because it was such a
Right.
poignant, life-altering moment of whoa. One, that I can't believe this is real. I can't believe this actually happened. I can't believe this book exists.
And not only that, for me, like even going back and looking up stuff about it,
Mm-hmm.
like getting the, facts about like who these people were, and you see these photos because a lot of these people just throw these photos in the middle of these articles, and you're just like, oh crap,
Yeah.
warning, please. I was not totally expecting to see actual crime scene footage
Mhm.
of bodies. I mean, because like you said, even some of these past ones, like when you did the Dyatlov Pass,
Mhm.
you're like, these are real people. I don't want
I'm
to
not, yeah. I was like, I want you to see what I'm
perpetuate any
talking
kind of.
about, but I'm not posting them. You can find them. They're easy. They're everywhere, but like I'm
Absolutely, yeah.
not
Yeah.
I don't want someone to like us be talking about something and then here it is. Here's the picture. And like, oh God, I don't want that.
Right. And you're like, I was not
Yeah.
prepared for that. Yeah.
It's like it's easy to find if you want to see
Exactly.
it. And again, like as
Absolutely.
you
All you got.
said, it's totally fine if you want to see it. I'm the person who kind of wants to see those things, but I also want to see them on my
Right.
own terms. Like, I'm gonna look this up now.
Exactly. Like if you want to go look them up, do it. They're
Absolutely.
out there for you to find. They're like you said, easy to
Yeah.
find. Super easy. You can look for the Clutter Family or in Cold Blood and do image search, and they're all right there. And like I said, that's fine. But it's one of those things where it's like, for example, why you don't sing not sing things on your own terms. I don't know if you remember, it was several years ago. It was a guy who had been taken by ISIS. I think he was like a news person,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of reporter or something, and he'd gotten caught over there and got taken by ISIS, and they beheaded him
Mm-hmm.
and they posted his stuff online. And I know that, the people out there tried to take that off as much as they could because they
Right.
didn't want that out there. But I remember somebody posted it on Facebook
Yeah.
and it must have just happened. And I'm scrolling through my
And you
feed
see it.
and there it was. And I was just like, that's not what I wanted to see today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And I know Facebook probably removed it because that obviously
Right. It
violates all kinds of their guidelines now. But it was just in that moment. I mean, you don't want to see
mm-mm.
that, especially like it's one thing, like you said, you go and you're looking for it, that thing, but then you're just like, this was a real human being. This is not some fantasy. This is not
Mm-mm.
some made up fiction story. These are real people that this really happened to. And I remember, like you said, reading the book, and I think that really like resonated with me because it was like these are kids who are like my age,
Yeah.
that this happened to when I read it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's what was horrifying to me in that moment was like the kids in this story are around my age and this happened to them all because one person
Total lie.
lied about there being money or was mistaken. I don't know if he just like flat out lied, but or just was mistaken about there being money at this house. You know, I think that's what's horrifying to me is one false story
Mm-hmm.
caused all of this to happen. And it's just, you know, yeah, that's that's why I chose this one because I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do some true crime stuff too. Because I feel like the movie did it,
Mm-hmm.
followed the story in the book fairly, that's always my gripe with movies coming from books and things is that they change stupid stuff that doesn't need to be changed. But this one I felt was like pretty like on the nose.
I'm trying to decide if I saw the movie. I feel like we must have watched it because school.
Yeah.
But if I have, like, I have intentionally not ever watched, like, I watched the movie Capote, which is about Truman Capote as he was writing
Yeah.
this book, but
Hmm.
I've never wanted to, like, I don't want to see this. Like, reading the book was
Right.
sufficient. I don't want to see it.
Right. Yeah. It's not something that I would want to
Hmm.
go watch again. Definitely. But anyway. So that's the story of In Cold Blood, the true story behind the book and the movie.
Amazing. Wow.
And it's just you read stuff like that, and you're just like, God, you just go back and you think like all this happened
Yeah.
because of one stupid person telling a stupid fucking lie, and look what happens.
Goes back to gullibility. Stop believing shit. Find proof.
Right.
Find
Right.
proof.
See, that would have been what they should have done. Is gone and tried to get a job there, and then see
Well,
if like they could get in the
or
house and look around and see if they could find a
or
safe.
just literally wait till they fucking go to church. You've got at least 2 hours to kind of go look around. Everybody's
Or that,
gone.
yeah.
You can go look
Right.
around. It's fine. Get in, get
Right.
out.
Even back then it probably been longer than 2 hours.
I know, right? Lord.
Right. But yeah, and I think that was one thing when I was looking this up. Like I said, how much time is there's like this short period of time where all this happened. You go from 1969 to the 1965. You know, as far as like the book, and then even just 2 years after that was the movie.
Yeah.
So it's all just right there. Because I know that a lot of things don't have books written about them until like decades after they've happened.
At some point, I desperately want to do Ted Bundy because I just have a
Right,
fascination with specifically Anne Rule's book and her relationship with Ted Bundy because she was
right,
writing the book and working on it before she knew that her friend Ted Bundy was the Ted. and,
right,
and so, like, to me, even like that was bananas. So I don't know. But yeah, you're
right.
right. It seems like generally these things are like, well, this happened, and then it gets turned into a book 10 years later, and then
The movie comes out like 5 to 10
five,
years
10 years
after
after
that.
that, and
Yeah.
Nope. Lots of police sirens. Do you hear it?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
I
She's like,
live in a
"What's
tiny
happening?"
ass town, guys. What the hell?
I hear that. Yeah.
Good lord.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Seems to be
Is it
echoing
near your
somehow,
house?
but I'm like,
Like, is it near your house? Like,
our window is open, so
oh, okay.
I wasn't sure it was a mistake, but it's a nice, beautiful day here. And
It is.
okay, I think they're done. I think they're
But
gone now.
it's kind of overcast here.
I love those. I love overcast days. It's the best days.
I know it's been so hot and sunny here lately. I'm like, yay, please rain.
Yeah. I'm like, Spencer, can we move now? I need to go somewhere where it's more cloudy. It's not cloudy enough here.
Right. All right. Well, I guess it's time for
Tarot
time
with
with
April.
April.
Spooky. Are you ready, Claire?
Yes, let's do this. Let's do it.
Time to do the shuffle, the shuffle, the shuffle. Time to do the shuffle. Where we let tarot cards tell our future.
Right.
That's right. It's okay. It's not an organized religion, so it's fine.
It's not.
Falling,
Stop.
shuffling, stopping, not falling. All right. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Our week starts with. No, did I do this upside down or right side up? I think I did this right. No, I did it wrong. Okay, there you go. I grabbed the cards backwards. Okay. Our week starts with the Empress.
Whoa.
I know, right?
I don't think we've had that one.
Our midweek is. This one is called the Pope-S.
The Pope-S.
Also known as the Hierophant. That is my birth card. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
What? Give me the love.
I think we've had that one, haven't we?
The Hierophant? I don't know. We have Temperance a lot, which is my other birth card, but the Hierophant
Maybe that's the
feels
one I'm
more
thinking.
accurate to me. I feel more
Maybe that's the
connection
one.
to the Hierophant and not Temperance.
Gotcha.
And we end our week with the Ace of Cups.
Ace of Cups. We had that last week.
I feel like we had that one last week.
We did. It was the first one for last week.
But I can promise you that these were mixed up because I knocked them off my desk and had to pick them up one by one.
Playing 70-something card pickup.
Yes, I was. It was not my favorite, but
right.
it is what it is.
Right.
All right. Do.
So we've not had I think that's what I was thinking of was Temperance because we've had that one a couple times, and you are always like, "That's my birth card."
But it's the one that the Hierophant is the one that I'm like, this is my real birth card. You have two. Everybody has two, but one feels more you.
Right.
So, all right.
We've not had either one of my birth cards, so
we will eventually.
Hopefully.
All right, Claire. So we're starting the week with the Empress.
Yes.
Let's see. Um, let's see. The Empress is comforting. She holds the symbol of the divine feminine, and in the early decks, she was pregnant. Water flows behind her. You can't see that in this one. Moving water shows energy flowing out of her. Trees are green. Yeah, our cards don't match these cards, so I have to kind of skim a bit. There is a lot of love to give here. It can be sexual or sensual, but it can also be the love of a parent for their child or the love of a farmer for their field. This is a
So
love.
love.
Yes. This is a love that encourages growth. She can refer to pregnancy. God, I hope not. Please no.
No.
Please no.
No.
I did have the dream about being possessed by a demon, which I thought about later. I was like, I hope I'm not pregnant.
No.
She can refer to pregnancy, delight, desire, sexuality, fertility, and sensuality. Bow, chicka, bow, wow. That's what it says. I'm quoting.
Oh, it says
says,
that. Okay.
bow, chicka, bow, wow.
That's funny.
This lady is warm, enveloping love. Let's see. It can refer to pregnancy when it comes up in a reading, so be careful if you're not looking to expand your family. But it also stands for it also stands for fertility with finances or art. Everything you touch grows.
I'm here for
I'm
that.
here for all the things that are not pregnancy.
Pregnancy,
Not
right?
that one.
Same.
Let's see. A neat thing I've noticed after doing this for over 20 years is this card comes up during readings all the time during the spring. That's not us, but that's cool. The Empress
It's
is
summer.
Isis. the Empress is Isis and not the terrorist group, the Egyptian.
Yes, I figured as much.
Terra, Brigid, and Changing Woman. She's our mother. She is the nurturer and the protector, the romantic and the lover. She is lush and loving. That sounds lovely. I want this.
It does sound. Hey, like I said, I'm here for all the fertility of my finances and art
Fertilize those
and whatever else.
finances and art, but nothing
Right.
else. Don't be touching my womb.
Right. Exactly.
You hear me?
No.
None of that,
None
please.
of that.
None of that.
No. Absolutely not.
Now I'm feeling I can get a pregnancy test to make my mind stop thinking. But okay.
Just to be on the safe side.
Even when there's no way I could possibly be pregnant, I'm like, am I pregnant? It's such a fear. I'm so afraid. All right. Blah blah blah. I have to find. This one's long, so I have to find where it's actually telling me stuff, because sometimes it's like her disposition about herself, which is super fascinating, but maybe not super helpful.
Right.
Blah blah blah. Skipping forward. Okay. The Hierophant. Also the Popess in this card.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, is that right? Actually, I may be wrong. Hold on. I think that's wrong. I think actually the Popess is the High Priestess and not.
Oh,
so I think the Hierophant is the Pope. The Popess. So this is not my birth card. I lied. I have to.
Liar.
It's my fault. It's mine. It's because they use different words and I have to think about it really hard.
I see.
Okay, so I'm kidding. This is not the Hierophant. This is the High Priestess.
High
Priestess, also known as the Popess. When I was reading, it's like, wait.
Gotcha.
Hierophant is the Pope.
Okay.
Which makes way more sense, but whatever.
Okay, High Priestess.
So this is the High Priestess. All right. Okay, so the High Priestess has intuition in spades. That's not in my card, so I'm skipping all that information. She is the keeper of secrets. She decides who sees behind the veil. She's a deeply mysterious card and represents calm, patience, and hard work. When this card surfaces in a reading, she's warm and welcoming, stern and judging, kind and compassionate. She encourages you to be authentic and whole. She wants you to look harder, ask questions, and dig deep. When I see it in a reading, I tell the client to look deeper, ask questions, trust their intuition, and mind their manners. There is a proper etiquette to asking the universe questions. You have to do your homework. You have to show respect. Or she just might close the curtains and send you on your way. She isn't really a mother archetype, but more of a visionary. This is the card for tarot readers and wise women. When you think of High Priestess, think of the attendants of the Delphi Oracle or the keepers of the temples of goddesses throughout various cultures. Look behind the curtain, the vast sea. Every card that contains water has to do with emotion. In this card, the High Priestess is the only person who has access to that water. She's the translator, the soothsayer, and the agent for change. This isn't an easy card, but it tells you that hard work will pay off. So,
well,
it's cool. Be authentic. Be passionate. Keep going.
Do your homework.
Do your homework. That's right. Which I've been saying, do your homework.
Right.
Hey.
Put in the work. Just do it.
All right. And we'll end our week with our Ace of Cups. The essence of emotion. Essentially the heart of the tarot. The cup is literally overflowing with bounty and blessings. The cup is a magical tool. The first chalice was a cupped hand, and the chalice represents the womb of the goddess and magical practices. It represents the bounty and promise of the goddess filling us with whatever liquid lies within. We bring this blessing into ourselves, and our thirst is sated. The important thing is to take it and drink. It's about new beginnings, a new love, new job, new butterflies in your stomach because she totally flirted with you. And the hope and excitement is completely overwhelming and makes your brain grin. This is about potential, grabbing onto hope with both hands and letting yourself bathe in the good vibes and positive emotional energy. So we're having an epic week.
This does sound like a decent week.
It sounds really nice. Like, I'm fine with putting in the hard work if I'm going to have all the bounty and the blessings at the end of it. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Damn it, yeah.
Absolutely.
Gonna have a great week. What?
That's right.
What?
It's gonna be awesome.
And there.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Everything's cool when you're part of a team. Sorry. Everything is awesome. Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm awful. If I start singing something, I have to finish the line. Like, I can't, or the, like, the phrase, the musical phrase. I have to finish it. I just can't leave it hanging. Anywho, so.
All right.
Are we ready?
It's time
to find out
the wheel
of fate. All right.
What fun things
we're talking about
we
next
gonna
week.
have next time? She's a laughing.
Just because you're gonna hate it.
I always do.
Basketball.
No. Hearts have lied to me. That's fine. But word of warning, don't be basketballing me up with boring stuff because I'll be like, I don't care about this sport. So don't be like, these are the top 10 best players of all time. And you'll be using words like, I don't know what any of these words mean. I don't know any of these words. Yay, rebound. What? All right.
I won't do that.
I'm sure I will find something incredibly fascinating that is tangentially related to basketball. Da-da-da-da. I managed with racing, didn't I?
You did. I mean, you could always just go the scandal route.
I'll find something fun. I trust myself.
You know. Anyway, I'm going to take that one off.
Thank you. All right. Well, I guess until next time, you can find us in all the things in all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
And send us those emails for topics. We did add another topic this week, so that's fun.
We did.
So send us some more topics to add to our wheel and any stories you want us to have to
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
And until next time, keep on brunching
and keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.
Brunch and Judge. Brunch and Judge. We brunch and judge everything and give you PS4.